Well, some very interesting mathematics happening here on K24 this morning. My name is Mungala Mbuvi, and we are talking about 2022 succession politics, and this is our question of the day. Ahead of the 2022 elections, what options does the president have? Ahead of the 2022 elections, what options does the president have? Find us on K24 TV across all social media. Let's take a look at what the People Daily says as you engage us on that particular question. Who will lead the No campaign without Ruto? All this is tied to 2022, and how does that come in play? And that's why I said the mathematics is quite complex. But you can dial star 550 star 4 hash for your copy of the People Daily, and for only 10 bob, let's join the conversation. And Silantoi, I remember I was asking you about the mischief that we apparently just as mentioned. Do you think the president is actually going anywhere, in your own opinion, as a Kenyan, with all this drama that we've had and the positions that he has said that are being created for all these tribal chiefs? Yeah. Currently, he is the tribal chief as far as the Kikuyus are concerned.
So, I mean, I have a few comments about what Justice said, and also about what Arnold has said. And just starting with the whole question that he was talking about, whether the Prime Minister, we don't know whether the Prime Minister will be nominated, whatever. Actually, the Prime Minister has to be a member of Parliament first, and then he's nominated to be a Prime Minister approved by Parliament. Yeah. So he has to be a member of Parliament. So
the leader of a majority party.
It doesn't have to be the leader.
It is in the...
No, the leader is going to be the leader of opposition. Anyway. So that's just to clarify. So he has to vie for MP somewhere, at least that we know. And then secondly, why do we, I don't know why we accept the whole story of mischief in politics in terms of, okay, so we have a document that the BBI has presented, and Justice is saying that, okay, let's not, just focus on what is written on the document, but rather focus on the mischief that is intended in the future or whatever. Yeah. I think, that's neither here nor there in terms of, we can't, that is not written on any paper. It is not fact. So the best we can do for ourselves is try to understand, first of all, the BBI. Pick holes at it. What is the problem? Where are the loopholes? How can this be detrimental to us? And then judge the document based on that. And actually take it as face value. And I'm not done. Secondly, I think Maliba and also Justice have talked about, having the tribal dynamics for there to be stability. Yeah, for that, and then the rest of us are kachumbaris. But for there to be stability in the country, I think people are coming to the realization that this is probably not the fact. In terms of, and I mean, people are criticizing the hustler narrative, but really, a lot of people identify with that narrative just because of the position that we are at in society, in terms of our economic status and all that. So even us sitting here and talking about that these 5 tribes have to balance for us to have stability, I think is a problem. In the sense that...
do you agree? Do you agree with the fact that they have...
It's not that I agree. No, it's... the
Arnold, I'm coming to you on a few issues that she has mentioned, but yes.
It's not about agreeing or not. I think behaviors, narratives are shaped by what is being propagated. Like every time someone sits here and talks about, oh, the tribe is the main issue or whatever, you're just continuing that narrative instead of actually just tracking back to... So what exactly do we want? What exactly do we feel is supposed to shape our politics? Because we can't keep talking about, first of all, he said that they're institutionalizing the 5 tribes to be, I don't know, always
like the main
tribes to dictate. I mean, okay, yeah, I guess they're the majority and probably there's a benefit to that or whatever. But the fact that you're even institutionalizing this thing is a challenge. It's a problem.
Hold on. Let's take a look at WhatsApp, and then Arnold, I want us to come back to those 5 tribes, and there's something she has said I'd like also to have some clarification on. But this is what you're saying on WhatsApp. Good morning. The outgoing president should leave the game free from interference, and the candidates vying for the presidency should sell their agenda to us. Okay. Good morning, Bovi. First of all, we don't need old people leading us anymore. Secondly, a leader is always born a leader like myself. I've been a leader throughout my high school life. Now, 2022 succession, Uhuru should fulfill his promise. The DP is valid. Gideon Moi should wait until Ruto finishes his 2 terms. And by the way, why Gideon? It's high time now this country should leave this father-son succession. Ruto is valid. This is Ahmed from county number 4, a 22-year-old guy with political ambitions. All right, one more. Butia from Kobujoi in Nandi County. Mr. President should not endorse anyone. Those aspiring leaders are capable of standing on their own. All right, thank you very much, Butia. Arnold, there is this thing that she has said about the Prime Minister being appointed or elected and has to be a member of Parliament. Kindly, just clarify for us, because you've been in this process for quite a while.
The BBI bill, I'll read it.
Okay.
15(1)(b). The unedited one, not the current one. The unedited one read this way. I'm looking at 15(1)(b), section 2 of it. Says, a person is eligible to be nominated as Prime Minister if the person is a member of the National Assembly who is a leader of the majority party or coalition of parties in the National Assembly. Now, the current one, as it reads, what we now have, reads this way. You know, at that particular time, it had only said a member of the National Assembly. It had opened up the possibility that I could be a leader of a party, but I don't vie, or I vie and lose.
Yeah.
But I still find my way in Parliament, either via nomination or something.
Like Kalembe and Tip Tip.
Yes, and you show up, and then, of course, you are the leader of that particular party, and then you end up there. But the current one reads this way. A person is eligible to be nominated as the Prime Minister if the person is an elected member of the National Assembly who is the leader in the National Assembly of the largest party or coalition of parties. So, just from a member to now an elected member, but
also leader.
A leader of either the largest coalition party on the other side or a coalition of parties. Now, moving onwards, actually whatever I was trying to explain here is normally that our politics is, our political thinking is lazy. Our political mobilization is not normally premised on issues. You know, if we do not diagnose this problem properly, we will not get the answer to it. That's one of those lessons I've learned. So, it's so easy to mobilize a long tribe. It's the easiest one. Because I'll ask you, what are the issues in this country when it comes to politics?
Right.
One time too many, they are not very different. What NASA is saying is essentially what Jubilee is saying. But they still have got a following of people, like I've said here before, who first of all decide that we will vote for Silantoi here. Then when you ask them, why are you voting for her? They will then think for the reasons why they are voting for her. The decision to vote for her comes ahead of the reasons as to why they are voting for her. And in our case, we first of all choose to vote for one of our own, quote unquote.
Right.
That is why the people we call the political thinkers and the people who work behind tables go in for the easiest, because our political mobilization philosophy is around ethnicity. It's as in the politics of us versus them is the easiest way. And how do you create an us? There is what has been there. And that is why I will actually tell you about, there is not so much of a bigger tribe in this country. A number of what we call tribes today are just coalitions of so many communities that existed. Those ones we are calling smaller were just unlucky that they didn't have people. I'll give you an example. Like the Kalenjin, it never existed until the 40s. The tribe called Kalenjin never existed until the 40s. The Luyas never existed as a tribe called Luhya. It's a group of 18 groups that are living together. So these tribes, and even the Luos, I'll tell you, when they came in this country, they were separate groups.
I want to jump on this.
Who actually came in, and they had very different, by the way, identities as they showed up.
Okay.
They even used to fight amongst themselves very seriously until recently. So, but the people who then organize and work out these things do get on the easier side. That they sit up there and realize, what are you going, like today we are talking about unemployment, right? An economy that if it were in any other hemisphere, somebody should actually have resigned. A government should have gone home by now with the way we have handled COVID, with the way we actually look at the national debt, for example, gone through the roof. And we have got a National Assembly that doesn't feel ashamed of anything. So But then, why is this government still sitting together? It was so easy for the president. Do you know what he did? A handshake and then BBI, and then we are kept in a merry-go-round, going around singing BBI. And when you listen to the people talking about BBI, you would think it is written on the templates that were given to Moses on Mount Sinai.
Right.
You would think it's something that is so fresh, it's come from heaven. But all of us know that it's a joke. We are being taken round and round and round.
Okay.
So my point on the ethnic card is that we have got lazy political thinking. This generation also is not different.
Yes.
They are so eloquent on Twitter. But when they go home to vote, they vote like their grandmothers and their fathers at home. They don't vote any different. And that is why, if you were to look at social media and you count on that as the temperature on the ground, you will lose miserably. Ask Peter Kenneth and Martha Karua.
Just as there is something that has been called here lazy political thinking by the current generation, but also there's something you said about leadership from all these other communities, or rather the 5 main communities and so on and so forth. Do we have anyone from the so-called lesser or minor communities that can actually give, can give leadership to this country in terms of, being president? Have they even been running in the past? Is there anyone who has put up their hand that we can say, oh, by the way, from the El Chamus, we have so-and-so, or from the, Kurias, we have so-and-so?
Generally, yes. I believe with all the negative, issues being surrounding somebody like Joho, he's got a national profile, so to speak. Kingi has got a national profile. There is another underdog in Kwale, in the name of Vuria. In my opinion, is a very competent governor. So there are a number of individuals in this country that from outside the so-called major ethnic groups that we have, talked about separately in this particular conversation. So I believe, yes, there are a number of individuals in this country who can be able to, who can have the mandate, given the mandate by the people, can be able to ascend to the highest office in the land, the presidency. But of course, you remember, like Andrew did mention, politics is an ethnic adventure. We do not vote on principles or issues. We vote for our boys and girls from our ethnic background. So I don't believe some of these individuals in the near future will have a chance unless, the likes of Raila Odinga and maybe Uhuru Kenyatta can sit down and say, now for the very first time, if Raila may not run in 2022, Uhuru is not running in 2022, and agree. Because in Nyanza, when I talked about endorsement movie, in Nyanza, if Raila endorses you, it is not as if Uhuru endorses you. Okay. Raila's endorsement is a defined instruction. Nobody questions. Uhuru's endorsement may have a lot of challenges in this country. So it depends. Raila endorses you, you are good. Okay. Uhuru endorses you, there are a lot of challenges, maybe 60 to 70%. So if Uhuru today and Raila would be able to sit down and say, Joho Tosha, most likely that can give a substantive, somebody who's running against that candidature a run for his money. So yes, there is possibility, but with endorsement from the major tribes. Okay. And endorsement from the kingpins from the major, especially in this case, William Ruto, Raila Odinga, and Uhuru Kenyatta. That endorsement is necessary. So at the personal level, they may not be a brand, but with an endorsement. So I qualify my statement, yes, with an endorsement from the kingpins of this country. And I want to, Andrew Madiba did talk about the arithmetic of the 5 major tribes. I want to confirm, in the minds of the people crafting this document, they have always, they have, for example, Bubi, why do you think we need 2 deputy prime ministers? For heaven's sake, 2 deputy prime ministers? We have a deputy president, a prime minister. Why do you think, what informed this calculation of the 5 big boys on the dining table? It is about the 5 ethnic groups in this country. Okay. So what drives this country is the tribe. Then, of course, now the ideas is secondary. But primarily, our politics is driven by the ethnic ideologies. Okay. Whether that can work or not, that is something else. But ideally, we craft political, we craft political alliances based on the tribes. When Uhuru and Ruto came together in 2013 and 2017, honestly, it was about bringing the Kalenjins and the Kikuyus on board. When Raila Odinga, Mudavadi and Kalonzo, made that alliance, it was not about bringing Kenyans on the dining table. It was about primarily bringing the Kambas on board, bringing the Luos on board, and bringing the Luyas on board, primarily. Of course, they'll go all over the country talking about uniting the country. But principally, even the handshake, when you look at the handshake, it is ideally uniting the country. But when you look at it critically, it is trying to unite the Kikuyus and the Luos. Practically, you may use all manner of terminologies, but ultimately, it's about bringing two tribes together. And that's why recently you saw some Kikuyu enter saying they are going to Luo, Nyanza, to have to confirm the handshake. They didn't go to Kamba, they didn't go to Pwani, to Mijigenda. They went to Luo Nyanza. Okay. Not even the Nyanza, they went to Luo Nyanza to confirm the handshake, that the handshake was principally to bring the Kikuyus and the Luos on board. All right. To the dining table and feast together comfortably.
Justice, thank you for that one. I want to ask Silantoi her option, or rather her input on this one as well. An ethnic adventure, like you mentioned it, and I saw you trying to interject, Arnold, at one point, as far as the ethnic makeup of the so-called handshake is concerned. Yeah.
Obviously, like I've said, it's true. It's a fact that is how politics is organized in this country. But I have a challenge with it because we are propagating it. Yeah. I wish you would ask me when you're asking us about, okay, so who do you think is going to be the next president or whatever? Okay,
who do you think from the minor communities? Do we have someone from like a...
First of all, why is that even a qualification? No, the thing is, I wish you would ask me, okay, why do you think Gideon would be a good president? And I wish I could sit here and tell you this is what Gideon stands, this is his stance on taxation, this is his stance on how government should act in a pandemic, this is how he should feel about, I wish I could tell you those things, but we don't discuss them. And we don't know what these people stand for. They never tell us what they do. And in fact, I think the main problem that we have is the structure of our political parties. We don't have political parties that are constant. They change every election cycle. So therefore, it's difficult to even know, okay, so what is this party about? Just like he says, NASA is on this side and Jubilee is on this side. They'll say the exact same thing, but I mean, like we don't get to know exactly what they stand on anything. So even as we sit here, granted, yes, ethnicity is an issue. Yeah. But I mean, it's an issue everywhere. Even in the States, they know the black vote is like this, the Hispanic vote is like the same thing here. That's not a problem, but it does not stop them from talking about other things that government does, so what people stand on.
Why don't we have, because I believe these minor communities or small communities have the same opportunities.
Issue with your wording. Minor communities.
It's because that is what they call themselves, majority and minority and marginalized and so on and so forth.
Minorities in terms of numbers and
okay, but you, at least you get my
I get your point. Yes.
Why don't we have someone from one of those marginalized communities, Aborana for instance, coming up and saying that, guys, look, I want to be. I'm the best. They have the same options. They have the same platforms. Rather, they can come onto TV. They can go to the radio stations that the same Raila and Uhuru go to in Kalonzo. Why is it that these ones are louder than them then?
At the end of the day, that's what they said. It's how politics is organized here. But still, it's not for lack of trying. In the last election, there was a Kuro Okot. There was what's his name? Mr. Dida, as in like, it's not that these people don't try, and I feel like already as soon as they step in, they are at a lower playing field, just in terms of you don't have your whole your whole community backing you or whatever, and I think it's an unfair judgment on their part in terms of these people have been, first of all, if you go to these regions, we, what do you call it? The lack of investment by government for years on end in terms of infrastructure, schools, hospitals, as in, so what do you expect from these regions if government won't even try to invest enough in these areas? Okay. And probably this is why, devolution should really be protected, because some of these regions have only seen, even until now, Samburu County, where I come from, a tarmac road within the town was introduced after devolution. Streetlights, things as basic as those. So you see, expecting, they're qualified. and
Okay.
they can vie and everything. But I think it's an unfair, you know, just judgment on their part.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the question that you asked me earlier that I didn't answer, about whether Uhuru, the president should leave or...
Whether he's going anywhere.
Of course he has to leave. I don't even know
But
why
is
we
he-
are discussing.
Is he
No.
going to, considering the so-called mischief that Arnold and Just has mentioned?
No, I think by us even having that conversation is probably even justifying or even giving him the power to decide whether or not he should stay. I mean, people should follow the law. And I don't think we should have any other conversation about it. And if he doesn't, I think he should be taken to court for breaking the law. And
Okay.
so that is not... it's important to try and look into what is the mischief about it,
All right.
but it's also detrimental to propagate that, oh, do you think he's going to go? He should go. I don't
Arnold, let me just ask you this same question I asked her, as you probably talk about the legality of him sticking around.
Yeah.
The thing is this, do we have anyone from these other communities, apart from the Big 10 or Big 5, who can, because even the other, like you mentioned, 54, so minus 10, that's about 44. Even the other 44 are actually backing the top 5.
You see, first of all, it is my considered opinion that one's ethnicity and extract should not even be one of those qualifications to be elected. It should be about your capacity, it should be about your abilities, it should be about your conviction and what you are. But I need to point out this. We have got a glut of those individuals. In fact, when you talk about talent, there's a lot of talent from those other areas we actually look at as the minorities. And but there are even majorities in this country who are marginalized. It's also possible to be a majority and be marginalized. Primarily, that is where our politics has had a problem. Probably if we are bold enough, we will talk about why Nyanza, for example, has always come off as the most militant when it comes to the national. They believe they have numbers, but over time there has been a policy ever since that fallout between the old Odinga and the first Kenyatta, is that that region was then marginalized, even though they have got numbers. So injustices, but they do not even really just, are not limited to your numbers.
Right.
There are guys who could be minorities, and they control a lot of very important aspects of a country. It happens in so many places. But be that as it may, I need to say this, that we are a republic. Kenya could be a republic for all of us now. It's a public concern, yes, but we are not yet a nation. Inside us, we still have got small nations here and there, everywhere, where even as we try to run away from them, they do exist, and we need to actually face that. I looked at Silantoi say that we shouldn't even be talking about these things. You know, not speaking about something or assuming that something doesn't exist doesn't do away with it. Unfortunately, that's how it is. So, moving you are hungry and you say, I will not talk about hungry, I will not hunger, I will not even think about it. It will not go away.
It
will
does,
still,
actually,
it doesn't. It remains. So, you can bury, you know, we can do the ostrich thing. We bury our heads in the sand.
Yes.
It does, as in, it's just like when we were young, you will run around and you think you're hiding, and the whole of your body is outside,
I have
so you can
something
be
to say
seen.
about this.
So,
Just a second, please.
so let me just bring this home. Now, she spoke about parties. It's true. Parties should be our enablers to democracy, but they are special purpose vehicles. They are SPVs, and there is capital capture, where whoever has got money funds it. You do not expect me to fund your party, and you do not do as I wish. That is why you are, today, when MCAs are trying to exercise their political and democratic rights, we are taking them through disciplinary sittings. Some of them like for example, yesterday when the governor for Nairobi was,
Mike Sonko arrested.
his meeting was disrupted. The only mistake he did was to actually try exercise his political rights. That he was, you know, apparently he's supposed to be impeached and he's not supposed to do anything about it. Even as a human being, he has got all the rights. He might not be the best, and by the way, we already know that. He never did very good work in Madaraka, by the way. When he left CDF, he left a lot of money. He seldom uses development money. He would rather run with his Sonko rescue team type of politics, but never just do proper work. But somehow somebody somewhere feels like this guy should not even try to fight. As in, with our robust Bill of Rights, he has got a right to try and defend himself. So we come in and we are saying that he has broken COVID-19 rules. Apparently, only people who are fighting the state or are trying to are inactive
are breaking COVID-19 rules.
Breaking COVID-19 rules. So you see the way we play out with things, that the people who control state then are threatening democracy and everything that comes around that. Finally, from where we sit today, and I want to say this, the hope of us changing this country ordinarily lies with young people, the youth. For the simple reason that they are the most educated people who have ever walked on this land. They are more literate than anyone else. We are that, as in, at no particular time has this country called Kenya, whether we were still walking around and roaming around, we have never had a collection of people who are enlightened, as exposed, and as we are as a people.
Okay.
But the problem is that the youth do not exist as a voting bloc. They exist in all other spaces except politics, where, you know, their problems are similar. Whether you are a Maasai, you are a Kikuyu, if you do not have a job, you just do not have a job. You can't show up at a supermarket and chomoa your ID and say, I am a Kikuyu, the president is a Kikuyu, therefore I am entitled to getting things from here. You can't. If you do not get education as a Kikuyu, as a Mpwani, as a Somali, you will not, as in, there will be no democracy for you when it comes to economics. So, but the problem is that organizing these people around that identity has become a problem because, like I said, when it comes to voting, they can actually speak very well on Twitter and social media and make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
But when it comes to voting, the patterns can actually, you just need to see it. So,
very literate in that sense.
As in, when it comes to politics, these young people who have traveled, who are educated more than their grandmothers, when it comes to politics, they don't fare any better.
All right. Thank you very much.
I just want to talk about briefly.
Briefly, and then your closing remarks.
Yes. The reason why I keep saying I think we should not focus on these things is because, you know, when you're trying to change someone's behavior, if I'm trying to tell you, you're going to town, I don't keep telling you, don't go to Langata, don't go to Langata, don't go. I tell you, go to town. Like, I direct where I want you to go. And that's the same thing that should go for us. Even people who keep talking about these things, yes, acknowledge this is an issue that we're having, but this is where we're trying to get to. And that's why I keep emphasizing, I don't think we should talk about this as much as we do. Mention it, say that this is a problem, but direct us in a direction that we need to take, so that people can start thinking differently. If you can't keep emphasizing, there's an issue with tribalism, and then you don't give us another option of thinking about it.
Just a question.
A question, not a comment.
Why do you think that we have gone round to start teaching sex education in schools?
All right.
I don't know about it.
So that,
Because speak about politics.
If you don't speak about it,
yes,
children will not get spoiled, quote unquote.
Right.
But
We've gotten
exactly
to a point where, after avoiding and banging our heads in the sand, we got a problem. We have been forced to speak about
it.
You're speaking
about it, so you're directing it. But yeah,
but I get your argument.
Yeah, direct what the thought that we want us to have, so that we can't keep focusing on this is the problem and then we don't give a solution.
All right, Justus, kindly, in 10 seconds, your closing remarks as far as 2022 succession is concerned.
It is, for me, I would wish we keep our fingers crossed first and watch what, what becomes of BBI and the new intent.
Yeah. Justus? Oh my God, we seem to be losing Justus. Justus.
Money has been poured. Justus will not speak.
All right. Okay. So sorry, Justus. We seem to be having a connection issue. But Arnold, thank you very much. Silantoi, thank you very much. Yeah. The conversation has been about 2022 succession. Unfortunately, this is a conversation we'll be having for a very long time, as we include probably sex education as well, as Arnold has said. But thank you very much. Do not go too far. Mukamburi Chigogo is joining us on the other side as we get interactive with Chiko Kaitani as well.